I'm Mike Ryan. On our blog, we've had an ongoing series of the famous turquoise mines. And in one of those videos, we did the not so famous turquoise mines. And we looked at several turquoise mines that just really have never reached the top tier in terms of grade and popularity. So I thought it'd be time now to revisit those less than famous mines. So today we're going to look at more not so famous turquoise mines. We have 5 mines that we're going to look at. And 2 of them are some of the first turquoise mines that were ever discovered in Nevada and worked in Nevada. And then we also have some that are among the newest turquoise mines that are producing. So we're going to start in southern Nevada in Esmeralda County, and we're going to look at the Ajax. Now, the Ajax has a storied history. It was first located by Carl Reich in the 1920s. It was purchased by Walter L. Godber. And Godber didn't have that. He worked it real hard for several seasons in the 30s, but he ended up buying another turquoise mine that was a little more lucrative for him. And I think you know the name of that as Godber Burnham. Today, that's owned by Helen and Richard Shull. We're also going to look nearby to Ajax. Oh, well, nearby in Nevada is always relative, but it's the White Claims. Well, this is a turquoise that has not really been developed. It's part of the Ottoson claims. It was worked by Dean Ottoson. And it's really best known because it was the area that yielded the white buffalo. And of course, that has entered turquoise lore because of that famous first episode of the TV reality series Turquoise Fever. And who can forget searching for the elusive white buffalo? Well, anytime you're watching a reality TV show, the emphasis is on entertainment. And it was very entertaining. But that white buffalo was very popular. It was opalized calcite. And there have been many varieties of that with the white, with the black look of different minerals, all sold as white buffalo. We'll take a look at some of the white buffalo, but we'll see some turquoise that came from those white claims. And that came about when Greg Fink, who's a turquoise miner, he has Blue Oasis, and he's in Tonopah, and he was leading a tour for Dean Ottoson. And that's when he came across some of this turquoise. So this is a pretty rare turquoise. Probably many of you haven't seen this. Finally, we'll look at one that is a little more well known, but probably not as well as it should be, and that's Thunder Mountain. This is owned by Shreve Saville, and he works that with Greg Fink on shares, I believe. And I bought this turquoise from Greg, and I think it's among some of the most beautiful turquoise that is coming out of Nevada these days. It's not worked very often. Hopefully, those guys will get out there and find some more turquoise. And it's in the general area of the old Easter Blue claims. Then we're going to go up into northern Nevada, and in Lander County, we have Concho Springs. Now, this is interesting mine because you can actually see it from Battle Mountain. You stand there on Main Street next to the railroad tracks, and you look out to the north, and you can see the general vicinity of where the mine is, the claim. This was worked by Cutler Edgar, and then later by Tom Morgan, and he sold to Bob Bruscia, who has it now. Then we're going to move over to Eureka County, and we're going to see one of the first claims that was made there, the Carlin, known as Black Matrix. And This was located in 1927. It's a little bit mysterious. We're not 100% certain of it. It was all taking place at the time when a lot of those claims in that area were being located. And of course, the one that really rose to the top was number 8. So with that background, let's take a look at some turquoise. All right, we're going to start and take a look at some Ajax. The old Carl Reich claims, the Godberg claims there. And this is a turquoise that can really fool you. It's kind of hard. You don't really kind of look at that and go, oh yeah, that's Ajax turquoise. Some people would look at that and you might say, well, yeah, that's Royston, but not quite Royston. It doesn't quite fit. Kind of has its own unique look. And it's going to be noticed by a very pale blue. We see this blue here, but more noticeably by the blue-greens, the green and the blue-greens that we see in here. We see this one, very distinctive green, almost looking more like a Caracol Lake sort of green apple green. Here's the blue-green. Here's one again. Of course, in this area, in the Candelaria Hills, you do have a lot of varicite. So you do have looks that kind of fool you sometime. And is it turquoise? Is it varicite? But in this instance, I think we're pretty sure this is all turquoise. And it's a very pretty turquoise. Doesn't get mined that often. You know, when you're a turquoise miner and you have lots of claims, you have to be very careful in your allocation of capital. Very scarce capital in terms of where you want to focus your mining activities. So hopefully we will see more production coming from Ajax. All right, now we're looking at some turquoise coming from the, what Greg Fink calls the white claims. And again, I really don't know the story on this. There's been really such low production that's come out from this area. I don't know what the actual claims are, if the Addisons have actually located claims there, or really what the story is on this. But we can see here that we do know here is the well-known white buffalo. And this is a couple of examples of the really quite beautiful and distinct opalized calcite that for a while some were trying to sell as white turquoise just to try to increase the price. And fortunately, the Addisons did have it tested and they've been very clear on what this material actually is. But we find here some different grades. We look over here and we see some lower grades, very kind of low grade, mid grade. Now it is natural turquoise. It's hard enough, but really kind of this very, very pale blue. Then we look into some higher grade, quite distinctive, very beautiful. These three look to me like they all came probably from the same nugget, and really kind of a beautiful, distinct turquoise. Sure would be nice to see some more of that. And in fact, it may be that this is where the Addisons now are mining more in this area and are marketing it under a different name. I just don't know. We do see here these two, very distinctive feature in that we see the black chert and we see the turquoise formed in this black chert formation. So once again, here in Southern Nevada, we see an example of much more modern. We saw the old Ajax, and now we see the more modern period of the turquoise and the white buffalo coming from the white claims. This is Thunder Mountain, and as I mentioned in the introduction, this is owned by Shreve Seville, and he mines this periodically. Shreve's located here in Santa Fe, and when he can, he gets out there and does his mining out there, and he's assisted by Greg Fink, who is in Tonopah and has a number of turquoise mines himself, including Blue Oasis. And I think this is just really unique and special turquoise. I just love it. It has a lot of different looks, doesn't it here? If we start down here, we see these two cabs, beautiful, beautiful cabs. We can see they probably were cut from the same stone. And then we start to see some real different. Look at this whole series here. We have this one. This one actually probably fits better up here, where we have this kind of multicolored look where you have some of the rhyolite. I believe it's rhyolite. It's the light brown and then with the black chert. And when you get that matrix with the brown and the black and the blue, I think it really comes out as really quite unique and quite exciting. Then we're seeing this cab has a little bit more of a polychrome look. We see that green there a little bit and the different blues, always very exciting. These down here all have a very distinctive blue to it and a little different matrix formation, all very kind of a different look. And then up here in the top here with these, we see this very beautiful, vivid, bright blue. Really some of the highest grades of blue that you'll find, and it is really quite exciting. I don't know what this one here is. Oh my gosh. I hadn't even noticed that. There you go, black turquoise. I think that's what happened when turquoise reaches the end of its useful life. I think it either goes white or it goes black like that. Don't know, maybe some geologists out there can make a comment on that. But we see this very beautiful example of Thunder Mountain. And of course, the star of the show here is this very, very big, huge, you can see how big that is, fits in the palm of my hand, with this very vivid blue and this wonderful matrix in there. Thunder Mountain turquoise. All right, we're going to go from the southern part of Nevada up into the northern part, and we're going to Eureka County. And I gave a little background about back in the early period in the 20s and the claims that were developed around this area. And you can read all about that in Turquoise in America, Part 2, 1910 to 1990. And this is really, it has more historical significance than as any sort of value as far as the quality of the turquoise. I got this from someone who had what they called Mine Run Carlin. And, you know, the story was a pretty good story. So I'm very confident that it is Carlin when they gave the provenance of where they got it. And when I got it, it had been really poorly cut. So I kind of went through this and kind of worked around it a little bit and tried to clean it up a little bit. But again, this is what we would normally think of as mine run. Very mid-grade, nothing really special here. Although we have a couple of cabs, get a little bit interesting. This one has a little bit of interest in it. The color is pretty pale, but kind of has some interesting matrix. This has a little better color going on in there. But and then, of course, you get the signature black matrix there. This probably would be the one cab that people would point to as identifying it as Carlin black matrix. And then this one down here. And it also has, I think, a very similar look to perhaps Austin Blue, which is a claim that Philip has with Helen and Richard Shull. But again, just sort of interesting to see some turquoise from Carlin Black Matrix. Well, we're going to head down the road west from Carlin towards Battle Mountain, and we're going to take a look at some Concho Springs turquoise. As I mentioned, it's really close to Battle Mountain. And you'd think because of that we would have seen more Concho Springs turquoise over the years, but once again, it's hard to find turquoise, and a lot of times you're just not getting the yield you need to justify all the labor and work that's going into it. But when I was doing research for Turquoise in America Part 2, I was in Battle Mountain, met with Tom Morgan, and he tells a really fascinating story about the early days of Red Mountain And that's a great story. I hope you've all read it in Turquoise in America Part 2, 1910 to 1990. But when I was there, I asked if he had any turquoise for sale, and he sold me this Concho Springs. And it is really quite a beautiful blue turquoise. Now the blue here is a little bit off. It's actually got a little more blue-green in here. Probably the closest one is this cab, which is really quite a spectacular cab. I think a lot of people would look at that and, once again, of course, everything always kind of floats up to being lander blue, but this certainly does have, with the formation of the turquoise and the matrix there, it definitely has a little bit of that look. But Concho Springs, a really sort of underrepresented, but very important as one of the not so famous turquoise mines.